Well, we want to welcome you to our first episode of 2018 Within the Blender with Brandon and Madeline Hyman, and we're just super excited. Tonight, I tell you, we have an awesome topic we're going to be discussing tonight. So you want to make sure that you get on the phone right now. You call a neighbor, call a friend, send an instant message out, Facebook them, whatever you got to do to get them on. You want to make sure that you're doing that because it's going to be exciting. And I tell you, we're just super excited. It's just so awesome to come into a new year, sweetheart, and just seeing the glory of God, how he's been just blessing us and using us within the blender, and how the countless number of people that have been just calling, texting, emailing, all the whole 9 yards, walking up to us. People I don't even know. I'm pretty sure people my wife don't know have come up to us that have seen the broadcast, the particular episodes, and just let us know how much they've enjoyed spending every Tuesday with us at 7:30. And so we're just excited for 2018. I tell you, I'm just in expectation of some great things this year within the blender. I'm talking about movie deals, books, you name it, that's what I'm looking for. And so, listen, we're not going to hold you guys because we got something exciting that we want to share on tonight. And so, sweetheart, let's do what we always do and start off with some statistics.
Alrighty. The average time between first marriage, divorce, and remarriage is 3.5 years.
Okay.
Young adults are more likely to remarry than older adults. White and Latinos are more likely to remarry than African Americans.
Really?
Yeah, that's what the statistics say.
Okay.
And the divorce rate for second marriages when only one partner has children is over 65%. When both partners have children, the rate is over 70%.
Wow. So the first one says the average time between first marriage, divorce, and remarriage is 3.5 years. Interesting. Young adults are more likely to remarry than older adults, and I wonder why that's so. But we'll dig into that a little bit later. Whites and Latinos, and this is interesting. Whites and Latinos are more likely to remarry than African Americans. That's something we need to look into. The divorce rate for second marriages when only one partner has children or a child is 65%. When both partners have children or a child, the rate is over 70%.
The divorce rate?
The divorce rate is over 70%.
Wow.
So that's very, very interesting. And so tonight, again, like I said, 2018, we're going to be coming with some serious topics that we're going to be discussing. We're going to be doing some interviews, just a litany of different things you haven't seen us do. But we're excited to kick this year off with a very interesting question. Talk with one of my dear friends, and they asked me a question, and I thought it was just so beneficial or critical that we address it. I'm pretty sure that many people have dealt with this or are dealing with this question, this issue. And so my wife and I, we sat down, brainstorm, really sought, how we going to address this, how we going to attack it, and just really be a blessing to those that are viewing. And so the question was, what, sweetheart?
What do you do when the biological parent is intentionally sabotaging or buying the child?
What do you do? Listen, you can start asking questions. You can start sending stuff in right now. What do you do when the biological parent, now let's make this clear. This is a blended parent asking a question concerning the biological parent.
Right.
And so this is very critical and very crucial how we're going to address this. So you might want to get your pad, your pen, your pencil, your notebook, your tablet, whatever. Because I'm guaranteeing you, you're going to hear some things that's going to be like, oh, wow, okay, really, got you. And so we're going to come straight at you. We're going to come straight on with it. It's going to be awesome. You're going to be blessed. Tune in. So what do you do when the biological parent is intentionally sabotaging or buying the child? You know, that can be one of the most heart-wrenching things that you can deal with as a blended parent, as a bonus parent. So many different adjectives that describe what we do and who we are. And so it can be so heart-wrenching when you're trying to do the right thing or the best thing, but yet and still you got to keep battling the biological parent because they don't want to either do what they're supposed to do. They don't want to accept the fact that things aren't the way they may want it to be. Or it could be a multiplicity of reasons why they do what they do. But for you as the blended parent and the biological parent, it can be almost devastating. You know, and we've experienced that. We've experienced on both ends, and we're going to cover some stuff. It's like, wow. But we experienced where one parent was one way and one parent was another way. And so we're very qualified to talk about this. We're talking about 20 years come this March, the 14th, as a blended family, a successful blended family. And so we're going to be talking about some stuff. I'm telling you guys, you don't want to miss this. And so what do you do when the biological parent is intentionally sabotaging or buying the child? The first thing I thought about was, if at all possible, keep the lines of communication open with all parties. This is critical, guys. Communication is key with all parties. If at all possible. The Bible says that, like, if it's possible at all, be at peace with all men. Understandably, some people just not going to be peaceable.
Right.
And so we want to make that clear. There's some people that regardless of what you do, the measures you take, what you say, how you operate, how you communicate, the whole 9 yards, there's some people that just will not want to get on board and do the right things. But again, if at all possible, keep the lines of communication open with all parties.
Right.
And this is key because every year or every day or every interaction is an opportunity for change.
Right.
And whenever you close the lines of communication, you miss out on an opportunity to impact their life.
Right.
One of the things we did, and I'm going to go on both sides. I'm going to start with my wife's ex. And we kept the lines of communication open.
Right.
Regardless of how we started off, because we didn't start off as blissful as we may have wanted to. We were on good terms, but we weren't blissful. And so it was important to us for us to keep the lines of communication open because we realized that this was bigger than just us.
Right.
And we didn't want to hinder the growth and the maturation and all those things that went along with the girls. So we kept those lines of communication open. Subsequently, because we kept the lines of communication open, we wound up developing a great relationship.
Right.
I mean, it's like, you know, that's my dude. You know, I could sit down and talk with him hours at a time. He liked to talk, and I like to talk. He might like to talk a little bit more than me, because he can talk. But hey, guess what? I love talking with him. I love discussing things with him. I mean, there's not a dull moment that I have when I'm communicating with him. And so, but that was because I desired, and with all that was in me, I pursued keeping the lines of communication open.
Right.
Now, on the flip side, with my ex, my son's mother, I kept the lines of communication open, but the lines of communications were short. And so I had to limit the communication to a very small degree because I knew who I was dealing with and what I was dealing with. Right. And so you got to know the individual. That's not saying that because the lines of communication are open, long or short, that you differentiate or you separate the two. You do everything in your power to make even those short lines long. And there were times when I would make them long, and then I had to find myself reeling them back in. And I would make them long, and then I find myself reeling them back in because I knew the type of individual that I was dealing with.
Right.
But if at all possible, you want to keep those lines of communication open.
Right.
The second one is what, sweetheart?
Set ground rules as it relates to how all parents are going to interact with and through the child.
Or
children. I mean, it's the same thing.
Yeah, but one is singular, other is plural.
Yeah, but...
So you want to set ground rules as it relates to how all parents are going to interact with and through the child or children. You want to set ground. It's important. And it's important, especially if you can do it early on. If you can do it before you go into that, listen, we all have to sit down together or on the phone or whatever way of communication you guys have set up and make sure that you set ground rules. These are things we're not going to say. These are things that we're allowed to say.
Right.
And so that's important because one thing that we did was we made sure we were never going to say something that would take away from that child's relationship with their other parent. We wanted to make sure we weren't going to do that. We wanted to make sure that whatever we did, we were going to keep things at the utmost respect level.
Right.
And that's important because you got to set ground rules because you don't want the child to be in one house where there's a lot of praise going on and there's a lot of building going on, and then they go to the other house and there's a lot of tearing down going on as it relates to the parents. And so you set those ground rules, say, listen, I don't care how things are with us,
right,
but don't disrespect me in front of my child. Don't say negative things in front of my child. Don't do negative things in front of the child. Why? Because we want to present a unified front. That's what I'm looking for. We want to present a unified front. That way, you want to keep children in a place where they feel like angels can reside here, angels can reside there.
Right.
And so it's important that you set ground rules as it relates to how you're going to communicate with them. Is there anything you want to say on that? Because my wife, she was real excellent with that. And like I said, we talked about that, before. You just don't, like I say, you just don't do it. I've never in 20 years saw her say anything negative about the girl's biological father ever. Especially to them.
Right.
Especially to them. Now, that's not saying, I'm not saying that she may have had negative thoughts, but I know she didn't have negative words. And so that was important because it even assisted me when I would get frustrated about my son's biological mom.
Right.
And I would want to say some things and want to do some things because I'm a piece of work. And, those that knew me know me, or know me knew me, know you get this brother mad, you got some problems on your hand. And so I was a piece of work. And so I had to model after what I saw my wife doing to get the results that she was getting. Did I get all those results? I didn't. Because it takes two to tango.
Yeah.
But I got the results from myself.
Right.
That I wanted to get. And I showed myself some things that I needed to see concerning me. And so that's just important.
Right.
What's the next one?
Understand that your response is your responsibility.
And that's what I was leading to. Because I realized that my response was my responsibility. Yep. And understand this, I don't care what that individual is doing, your response is your responsibility.
Right.
And so it's important to understand that regardless of how frustrating things may be, regardless of how hurtful things may be, regardless of how wrong things are, your response is your responsibility. Now watch this. Once I learned that my response was my responsibility, it allowed me to show the girls some things that they need to see. I always allowed them to see me in a compromising position and come out on top. And what do you mean by a compromising position? I mean in a position where I could have behaved one way,
Right.
but I behaved the right way. I could have said some things, but I said the right things. I could have done some things, but I did the right things. I always allowed them to see me in a situation where it could have gone the other way, but I was so conscious of them and the examples that I wanted to show them and the perception that I wanted to give them, that it ruled the way I operated concerning them.
Right.
Because there's some things that you might be dealing with right now, as frustrating, as hurtful as it is, at the end of the day, it's not even about you. Because it could be something that they're going to take on later on in life that can assist them if they ever in that situation.
Yep.
You don't know how many times my daughters have called me about a situation similar to what they seen me go through, but because they saw me handle myself in a certain fashion, in a certain manner, it enabled them to imitate what they saw me do. Not even understanding what it was that I was doing, but because I set that example before them, they were able to draw from that and imitate that and get even the same results, if not better.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so you want to make sure that you understand that your response is your responsibility. What's the next one, sweetie?
The next one is consistently let the child or the children know how much you love and support them concerning their relationship with their biological parent.
Listen, you want to consistently, I don't care if that biological parent is intentionally sabotaging them or they think they're sabotaging them. I don't care if they think they're buying that child. You consistently show that child the love of God, the agape.
Yep.
The agape love says, I love you regardless.
Yep.
I love you in spite of. I love you
no matter
what. And so you want to make sure that you're consistently showing that child that agape love. When you're consistently showing that child the agape love, guess what? Eventually you will begin to see what you really want to see out of that situation. And even if you don't ever see it, that doesn't mean it didn't work.
Right.
Because we walk by faith and not by sight. And so I can't go by things I see. I got to go by what I believe. Let me say that again. I can't go by things that I see. I got to go by what I believe.
Right.
Because everything you see is not what you see.
Right.
Sometimes you think you're seeing one thing, and in actuality, it could be something totally different. I'll give you a great example. It's so hilarious. I remember my middle girl, my road dog, she was pregnant. And, you know, I said, hey, babe, why don't you come down and have lunch with me one day? And so she came to my job and had lunch with me. And so we walk around the corner to the cafe, and me and her sitting at the table in front of the window. Well, one of the guys that were frequenting my office, he and one of his coworkers were sitting a couple tables across from us. And so he kept looking over like, I've seen his wife before, and she don't quite look like his wife. So, and she pregnant, and she was swole, y'all. I mean, she was huge. And so after about the third or fourth look he gave me, I just kindly just hopped up off my seat, grabbed my daughter by the hand, walked over to the table, and I said, hey, man, how you doing? You know, just, you know, out here with my daughter. This is my daughter. I never introduced you to my daughter. This is my daughter. I'm having lunch with her. You know what I'm saying? She wanted to come down with her dad and have lunch with her. And we just kicking it, man. But, you know, I saw you look over there, so I just want to introduce my daughter to you.
Right.
And so what he saw wasn't what he saw.
Right.
And so I use that analogy because sometimes you'll see something as relates to the sabotaging or the buying, and you think that it's doing one thing, in actuality, it's really doing something else. And and what you're saying can be so close to what you really believe or what you really think you're saying. But trust me, if you're doing things out of a pure heart and that's good ground, what you're saying isn't always what you think you're saying.
And that child gonna realize.
They're gonna realize. Because there was some Talk about that a little bit, sweetie.
Which one?
How they gonna know?
Oh, they gonna know, because if you do what you're supposed to do, or you don't say negative stuff, you know, you just take on that ownership of your responses, your responsibility. Eventually, that child is gonna see what that parent is doing. Intentional, unintentional, whichever way it is, they eventually gonna see, and then they're able to develop their own what word I'm looking for. Their own opinion, or, you know, see it for themselves. You won't have to have that feeling of, oh, are they feeling that way because of things I said or I did? If you just sit back, they'll see it for themselves.
Exactly.
It'll come clear.
And you want to love that child through that situation. You want to love them through it, because guess what? They know what's going on.
Yep.
Sometimes we think they don't know what's going on, or we think they don't have a real understanding. They know what's going on. At the end of the day, every child loves their biological parent.
Regardless.
Regardless.
They gonna do that.
They gonna do that. They gonna always want the best for them. I think back to my son. There's some things my son do, and I'll be like, dude, really? But I understand the love he has for his mother, and I understand that relationship dynamic. And although when he does frustrates me, you know what I'm saying? And it's like, dude, you make me want to choke you out. But at the end of the day, my love for him says, you know what? My prayer is that eventually you'll really see what's going on, or you'll really understand what's going on, and you make better choices for yourself.
Right.
I want you to still honor her, because you gotta honor her.
That's right.
You gotta keep her in a high position in your life.
Yep.
But that doesn't mean you let her run you. You don't let her rule you. And so, but he knows my position as it relates to that. And so I don't cross the line as it relates to my feelings regarding that, because I want to make sure that he can get all that he's supposed to get.
Yeah, and he's older now too, though. So the part as far as not letting that parent rule, that's because he's older now, and he can make his own choices and decisions as well. But if you're younger, you know, it kind of changed things a little bit.
Oh yeah, definitely. And you got to know the difference.
You got to know, yes.
You got to know the difference. If they're, I would say 16 to 18 or under, then there's certain things you just don't share.
Yes.
If they're 18, hey, we gonna talk.
Because you're actually an adult now.
You're an adult now. Time. So you know you can act babyfied all you want to, but there are gonna be some adult conversations that we're gonna have as relates to this, because there's some things that I need to know you understand.
Right.
Whether you like it or not, I just need to know that you understand it.
Exactly.
And so, what's the next one?
Know that you have a specific role to play and do it regardless of the apparent outcome. And you have First Corinthians 3, planting and watering, and God given the increase. Know that you have a specific role to play and do it regardless. Listen, I knew coming into this thing that I had a role to play. I didn't want to do anything but that role. That's the type of guy I am. I don't want your role. I want my own role. I'm happy with my own role. I like my own role. I love my own role, because it's me. I can do it the way I do it, and I can do it the best. And so I knew going into this that I had a specific role to play, and that was either to water or to plant. There were some things as related to the girls that I planted. There were some things that related to the girls that I watered. There's some things even with my son that I plant. There's some things that I watered. And so understand, when you're dealing with certain dynamics and situations, you're playing a role. And if you do your job effectively, eventually you're going to see the fruit of that. But no, you're never going to bring the increase. And that's what's important. Right. Because a lot of times when we're doing things, sweetheart, we want to see that manifestation right here and now. Right. We want to see things pop off just like that, and things fall in place so quickly or so dramatically that it can be heart-wrenching, because it seems like we're never seeing that. But if you got some good, see, there's a difference between the water in Hawaii and the water in Michigan. There's a difference. There's a difference between the water in Bermuda and the water in Michigan. I'm not picking on Michigan, but I'm just using that as an example.
because there's a lot of poisonous things that's in that water. There's a lot of unclean things that's in that water. And so you got to understand that if your water is pure,
right,
then you're going to get pure results.
right.
If your water is contaminated, eventually you're going to get contaminated results. And so you always want to make sure that you keep your heart pure so that your water can be pure.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And so understand that you got a specific role to play. Play that role to the best of your abilities. Seek the wisdom, the faith, the knowledge, the understanding of God, and watch him do what it is he said he will do concerning this situation.
Yeah, that's right.
What's the next one?
Keep that parent in constant prayer.
Wow. Oh, my goodness. Okay, we're
like
winding down. We got a couple minutes to go. But keep that parent in constant prayer. Because if that's what they're doing, and you know that's what they're doing, that's an individual that needs prayer.
Yeah.
That's an individual that needs you need to turn that plate down. That's one of them situations where it said these things coming but by fasting and prayer. Some folks, you got to turn the plate down on them. Some situations, you got to turn the plate down on it and pray, because guess what? Regardless of what you say and do, it just ain't going to change. What'd you say, Roland?
Roland said, my wife don't want me to discipline the kids because she thinks I'm too hard on them, but I'm trying to get them to respect her. They talk back and try to do what they want when they want to.
Oh man, we're gonna talk about that a little later, bro.
We have. We did one on that before, and we can definitely talk about that one.
But we definitely gonna address it again, because that's something that a lot of people are dealing with.
Yeah,
a lot of them are dealing with. But you want to make sure that
you keep them.
You keep the lines. You keep them in prayer. You keep them in constant prayer. Because guess what? It's hard to be mad or frustrated with somebody you praying for. It's hard because you don't want to be counterproductive in what you believe in going to come.
Right.
And so when you constantly keeping them in prayer, guess what? It's going to even change the way you... I'm a man, Willie Moore Jr., I so love that dude. He said he stopped calling his son's mother his baby mama. Mm-hmm. And we talked about that. Mm-hmm. He stopped calling her his baby mama because he realized when he called her a baby mama, she acted like a baby.
Mm-hmm.
And so
it brought about drama.
And it brought about drama. And so what he would then call her was the mother of my child.
Yep.
Because now they gave her a more mature statue in his life or in his mind. Mm-hmm. And so he began to decree that on her, and she began to change from being a baby mama to a mother. Mm-hmm. And it's a big difference. And so when you're praying for that individual and you're seeking the face of God concerning that individual, how to love him, how to witness to him, how to talk with him, how to communicate, the whole whatever. When you're doing that, it'll begin to change even your perception or even how you relate to them concerning whatever goes on.
Yep, Bob. Prayer
changes things.
Yep.
Prayer changes things.
It does.
But let me say this. People got a will.
Yeah.
And you could pray till you blue in the face. If a person don't want to change their will, they ain't going to change their will. And so, now watch this. The heart of the king is in the hand of the Lord. See, because I love scripture. And the Bible says he turn it whatsoever way he will. There are times even when that person with their stubborn selves don't want to succumb or submit to the will of God, that he'll begin to turn their heart and they'll begin to do things that concerning you or concerning that child, that's the proper thing, but they really don't want to do it. But they do it because he done turned their heart and there ain't nothing they can do about it anyway. And so you want to consistently keep them up in prayer, continually keep them lifted up and know that your prayer, watch this. Jesus said it like this, Father, I know you always hear me.
Right.
And so you gotta step into this thing. When you praying for them, you gotta know that your daddy always hear you.
Yep. Yep. He gonna come through for you.
He gonna come through. It's no different than you and your natural children.
Yep.
Or you and your blended child. Yep. When you develop and establish that relationship, they know that they got your ear.
That's right.
They know that whatever they say, you're attentive to their voice. And that's the same way we got to be in anticipation and expectation as relates to our prayer when we involve God into that dynamic,
Yep.
knowing that he always hears us and he always answers.
Yep.
And what's the next
That's
one? And we're
8
going to
o'clock.
close with this one.
That's 8 o'clock. Because that one, realize that what you're doing, regardless of what you may see, is not in vain.
Exactly.
We'll pick back up.
And that's what I wanted to close with. And because we're going to pick this back up next week. Realize that what you're doing, regardless of what you may see, is not in vain. Listen, I'm going to talk about that. We're going to stop right now. We're out of time, but we're not out of message. We love you guys. We thank you. Listen, this year is going to be phenomenal with In the Blender with Brandon and Madeline Hyman. We're going to be talking about some hardcore stuff. We're going to be having some live interviews, a whole litany of different things that you haven't seen us do. Listen, make sure that as you view this, you share it. This message is for that which is behind us, and this is the world. This is a worldwide message that we need to share. We need to get it out. So make sure, guys, that as you view it, you share it. We're going to get it out to the masses. There's so many people, sweetheart, I'm finding out, that are in blended family dynamics. Oh, yeah. This is a takeover. There's so many people that, regardless of whatever have brought them to this place, they're here. And we need a platform that blended families can come to, and that they can hash out their differences, they can get direction, they can get instruction, they can receive wisdom, and they can be the better, not just for them, but for the world at large. Yep. And so we love you guys. Listen, if you have any questions, if you want us to touch a little bit more about one of the areas that we touched on earlier, how do they reach us?
We are a blended family at gmail.com.
Give it to them one more time.
Email us at weareablendedfamily@gmail.com.
Listen, send your emails, your questions, your concerns, your comments to weareablendedfamily@gmail.com. We'll keep you guys posted on some upcoming events. We love you guys, and until next week, bye-bye.
Love y'all.